understand kind of the thinking behind it. It basically kind of sounds like this. Do the Mariners need more offense? Yes. Are there a lot of great offensive players available, certainly in free agency this offseason? No. There's one big one, and we'll talk about him in a moment, but Shohei Ohtani is no guarantee to come here to Seattle. Mm-hmm. The best fit for them offensively is Juan Soto. He does everything that they are trying to do, right? We heard them say that they want more contact, they want to strike out less, they want to chase less. Well, he does all of those things. He is he might be the best in the league at all of that in terms of controlling the zone. Yep. And oh, by the way, he hits the ball as hard as anybody in the league, hits for power, etc. And he's 24 or 25 years old. There's a lot of reasons to love him as a player. I think the idea he and Julio in the same outfield is like a tremendous idea. Mm-hmm. He's a perfect fit for them and what they want to do and what they need. Yep. If you trade for him and he is available this offseason, you get 1 year. That's the downside. You get 1 year of Juan Soto. That's all he has left before he is done with arbitration and becomes a free agent. And he is not going to do a Luis Castillo and sign early. So if you trade for him, you get him for 1 year, and then he becomes a free agent, and you're in the mix, but there's no guarantee that he sticks with you. The upside of that, because that's a major, major downside, is that he's a lot cheaper in terms of what you have to give up in terms of talent. Mm-hmm. Because just like he's not signing with you, he's not signing with anybody else. Scott Boras is going to take a 25-year-old star to free agency. John Morosi joined Wyman and Bob yesterday and basically said that.
Is their first choice to trade Juan Soto? No, I don't think it is. I think that their first choice is to keep him. But his agent is Scott Boras. I've got zero indication that he's about to sign an extension. So as long as that's the case, I think that maybe they go through the possibilities and see if they can upgrade their rotation via free agency. But if they can't, and if they're sitting there on January 5th and they say, oh my gosh, we don't have a rotation that we like right now, and we can't sign Soto, and the Mariners have all those pitching, let's call Jerry DiPoto.
Yeah, and maybe it goes down that way, and maybe it takes that long. I think they probably can sign free agent pitching because there's actually a lot of that this offseason. But if I'm the Mariners, I want to strike early on this one. I don't want to wait until after Ohtani decides where he's going, because then anybody who doesn't get Ohtani is going to immediately turn their attention to Soto. Mm-hmm. So if I'm the Mariners, I want to come in hot and early and get this done as quickly as I possibly could to try to get Soto here. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why. Yes, he's a great fit, Brock. That's a big one. That's the biggest one. They need that help. But the other one for me is I think they need to kind of change the way they're headed right now. I don't like what happened in the last couple of weeks at all. I think it's a bad sign, a bad situation, and I don't like anything about the vibe surrounding the Mariners today. Whether that's the way the season ended, the comments obviously from Cal and JP, the way things went for Jerry at the end of the year. I don't like any of it. I don't think any of it is good. Mm-hmm. And I do think you need to change the trajectory you're on, change the narrative. Not because the fans are upset, although that would be certainly a wonderful bonus to try to make people happy. But that's not why you do it. But because your players don't seem to be happy, because your clubhouse is in a bit of a neutral zone right now, right? And because ultimately you got to change the way the rest of the league and free agents and other teams are thinking about you. Mm-hmm. And I think that a signal deal by trading for Juan Soto as soon as you possibly could would change a lot of that and get things moving in the right direction as a bit of a catalyst.
Yeah, this is algebra, and on this side of the equation, I am all in. Before we get to the cost of it on the other side in just a second, let me just say I think there's a couple just pertinent things. Yeah, number one, this appeases JP and Cal. Mm-hmm. I mean, wherever they would be when that news would go down, there would be a yes.
Oh, okay.
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So my words do have power. So they do listen to us as players. They did know that we needed more, and you need a great guy. Number two, if Teo was everything that you are not as far as your whole programmatic development, of not chasing and controlling the zone and all of those things, this guy is everything and more. He could teach he could teach every one of your minor leaguers This is what controlling the zone is. Like, I'm the poster child for controlling the zone. And it doesn't mean I draw walks. It means I hit my pitches. And I am one of the best in all of baseball over the last few years of doing it. And then lastly, is I think about the 2023 season, Salk, in all of the storylines. And my gosh, were there a lot of them through 162 games. The beginning stretch of April, May, and June was a whole lot of Julio needs help.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a young star. So why don't you bring another star to take some of the burden off of him? And I think that would accomplish, and this move would accomplish all three of those things in mega, mega ways. So that's one side of the equation. Now, the other side is, okay, that's all wonderful. That's great.
How much are you going to give up for 1 year of a player?
At what cost?
Yeah, and Jim Bowden from, former executive with, the Mets and Orioles, I believe, and now with The Athletic and used to be with ESPN. Jim Bowden had the Mariners on a list of teams that would consider him this offseason and might be a fit, and his deal was Bryce Miller and either Harry Ford or Gabriel Gonzalez, a couple of their top 5 prospects, one or the other, plus Bryce Miller. You make that deal?
Oh, man, the cost is always what sucks in these conversations.
That's a big cost, especially Harry Ford. I'd probably be a little more willing on Gonzalez just because I think Ford is sort of your future at catcher if and when Cal, another Scott Boras client, decides that he wants to move on here in 3 or 4 years. I think Harry Ford's a pretty important piece of that.
Or he's a first baseman or a third baseman.
That's right.
Unbelievable athleticism.
Yeah. So yeah, probably, and that's not to take anything away from Gonzalez, but that would probably be my preference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it costs that much. And from everything I've heard in and around the industry, he's not, because everyone knows it's only 1 year and then he's going to be a free agent. So that is going to limit some of the value that the Padres can get for him. And I don't, look, maybe they decide they can't get enough value and they decide to keep him 1 more year. But if they are a team that likes Jared Kelenic, and I don't know whether they are or not, but if they're one of the teams that do, and there are some, and some probably don't like him that much, that's where I think a deal starts is with Jared Kelenic, and then you're replacing their outfielder. You're giving them much better defense because that's Soto's one big problem is he is not a very good defensive player at all. Not a good base runner, not a good defensive player. And Jared Kelenic obviously does both of those things very well. And with a fresh start and some of the pressure taken off of him in San Diego and some of the veterans that they have there, could that be a fit for both teams? Yeah, I think it could be.